Hello everyone out there, Sister Danger here. It's been about 3 months since I've been quasi off the grid, which in the quantum space-time flux of the land of YouTube more or less amounts to what seems like forever. One of the things I do in my copious amounts of spare time is I produce a fantasy festival in the summer, and that is coming up here this next weekend. So everything is crazy. That explains the mess that you see going on behind me, and it also is pretty much the entire reason for why I haven't been around to make videos. I was moved to make a video here at 2 o'clock in the morning because of an article that scrolled past my Facebook feed not that long ago when I was looking at it. And so I decided to just take the opportunity to make an aggregate video touching a little bit on a number of different topics and thoughts that have kind of passed through my mind. Kicking off tonight's late night brilliance is this little masterpiece. This mural of Bettie Page is painted on the side of a house that literally is right up against the I-5 freeway here in Seattle where I live. It is an icon in this city, I would dare say. Some feminists decided to vandalize this house by splashing gray paint all over this mural, which incidentally was a birthday gift to one of the residents, all in the name of their ideology. I'm not sure that it can be said any more simply than to say that when people are able to use an ideology to justify the violation of other people and their property, there is a problem. Now, I am actually the odd man out in my friends' circle. Most of my friends consider themselves feminists, and this makes for many a feisty conversation at get-togethers. When they ask me why I am not a proponent of feminism, this is why. Reasons like this and actions like this. I like my friends. I think my friends are good people. When my friends say that they are feminists, I do not think that they are saying this in some sort of Gestapo way. But the reason that I particularly reject feminism is because even though I know that many people that would claim to be feminists or to support, equal rights for women and all of the nice flowery things that the feminist ideology sort of touts out there, there is a huge discrepancy between what they tell you and the actions that are produced by those who adopt the ideology. And this gap between a belief system and what sorts of actions result from that belief system is what I cannot reconcile without engaging in some radical form of cognitive dissonance. I'm going to just use this opportunity to switch back into a call out from Black Trident forever ago, and I'm so sorry I'm so late on this, but it was from that little round that ThatGuyT did, talking about the one thing that you would say to feminists. And the one thing that I would say to feminists, and that I would say to my friends who are proponents of feminism, is that the day that the feminist ideology has something more to offer to this world than the basic tenets of humanitarianism, that's the day that maybe I think it will be worth considering or listening to. Until then, there is nothing that feminism can offer that cannot be applied to all people in humanity. And so that is a philosophy that I would more readily adopt, that umbrellas all people, not just one segment of society. I'm going to use the topic of ideology here to segue into the recent events in Florida. I'd like to start by first saying that these were absolutely tragic events, and my sincerest sympathies go out to the friends and family of anybody who has been touched personally by these events. The first thing that moved me to comment on my personal Facebook page regarding the Florida shootings was that I had been reading a post that was an amalgamation of a bunch of different people rejoicing in the deaths of these people in the nightclub because they were gay. And this, of course, is coupled on the other side by people being glad that the shooter himself is dead. And this moved me to say something, not because I, want to rage against all of these people's comments, but because they're very disturbing. I understand that when tragedy happens or when people do terrible things to us and pain and fear strike, that it is a sort of natural reaction for people, a knee-jerk for them to want to inflict that harm, want to send their anger and their hate back onto whatever terrible source of evil they perceive to have wrought the harm on them in the first place. I get that. And the problem is that we cannot have that attitude. We can never take the stance that it is acceptable to rejoice in the killing of other people. And it doesn't matter how that death occurs. It doesn't matter if that death was because of a murder, was an accident. It doesn't matter if that death occurred because this person went through the justice system and we determined them to, be a detriment to society as a whole. We have sentenced them to death. It doesn't matter if we have killed people in self-defense in war. The moment that we throw the gravity of taking another human life, any other human life, out the window, we also throw out the window any attempts or notions that we might make towards justice, and we replace them with revenge. A second thing that has weighed on my mind regarding this incident is once again the topic of religion, and everybody is all up in arms about guns and gun violence, which I'm going to get to here on point number 3. But I'd really like to point out here again, we have a person who was indoctrinated to believe certain things. And those beliefs led this person throughout the course of their life into a state of inner turmoil such that they were troubled enough that they went and took this action of murdering all of these people. I don't know what can possibly be more of a red flag that your professed ideology is this thing over here, but it is because of that it's resulting in these types of actions. And that is actually just as true for the killer as it is for all of the people that I just mentioned who were rejoicing in the deaths of faggots. Those same people are indoctrinated with their ideology, and because of it, look at what their attitude is towards humanity, towards the life of others. Once again, there is a huge chasm between what something is supposed to be about, what it proclaims to be about, and what actually occurs because of it. When we think of that adage, actions speak louder than words, this is why religion and its indoctrination should be a serious concern. So the last thing that I really want to say, kind of in relation to the Florida incident, is this business with guns. Gun issues are a distraction. They are not the source of the problem. So please, let it go. We should be looking at why a person is so filled with conflict and self-hate and loathing. Don't get distracted. If we really want to see the improvement and make the change, then the eye has to stay on the ball. We need to be involved in our politics. We need to be involved in our communities. So as to not end on such a note of gravitas, I thought I would share with you guys my project, one of my projects for this weekend. One of the competitions that will take place at my festival next weekend is a bardic competition. And if you don't know what a bardic is, it is basically where people vie against one another in either song, dance, some sort of musical instrument, straight out theatrical storytelling. And so as a trophy for the bardic competition, I decided to do this. And it's a violin that I found at an estate sale earlier this year, and I decided that I was going to use it to be the grand trophy for the bardic. Now this is a fantasy festival that I do, so we've got kind of a fae theme going on here with the unseelie and the seelie, the dark and the light. And this violin is strung with little silver strings that I had to put on here. I literally recreated the bridge and put this little piece under here for, I don't know what that's actually called because I don't play the violin, but I had to recreate this, and then I strung it with these silver strings, which is based off of a lyric in a song that I like by a folk musician named Alexander James Adams. And there's a quote in one of his songs that says, "Be it carved out the finest wood and strung with silver string," and he's talking about a fiddle. So on the back here you can sort of see the different art. If you look at this, it goes around here, winter and then spring, kind of into summer, and then over into fall here. And this little pan guy right here, this is actually the artwork of Alexander James Adams. And this here is the artwork of Aaron Hogan from Purple Eggplants, a friend of mine. So anyway, I hope you guys like that. That's been my that's been one of my big projects for the weekend, and I hope that everybody likes it next week when it finally gets its unveiling. So thanks for joining me, everybody. Please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Click that like button, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the flip side. Have a good one.